Okay, this is June 12th, 2020, and this reading is going to be on Donald Trump's astrology. I'm not going to go into it, in crazy detail, because there are so many gifted astrologers that have done this, and of course, you can search for them on YouTube and online that have just delved into, aspects that he has going on. I decided to do something more simple, which is to just look at his solar return, which is his birthday, reading for this year. And then I also decided to run a chart on his directed solar arc and his lunar return. So because the moon rules the public, so his lunar return for November election, and then for January, his next one in January 2020. So anyway, I noticed a pattern, and that's why I'm bringing this forth. The pattern is, on the most simple theme here, well, here, I'll just show you. 10th house of career, Uranus. Big changes, forces that are out of his control. Directed solar arc, same thing, Uranus in the 10th house. Lunar return for November, right after the election, Uranus. Uranus in the 10th house is indicative of, same thing, January 10th, 2020. And, look at the ascendants are all, he's Cancer, Capricorn, which is amazing. And Cancer, Capricorn here in this lunar return. And then Scorpio, Taurus for his directed solar arc. So anyway, to get into it, Uranus in the 10th is always indicative of career change, okay? And either it comes because you're consciously wanting something different and you're working towards it, like I have seen with many of my clients. It's a beautiful process to watch them unfold, because it goes from the place of I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something different, and then it moves into the place of, oh, I know what I want to do, and then the courage to go for it. And it's a beautiful process that takes 7 years to get through one house. So, but his he was born, oh goodness, I said I wasn't going to get into it, and here I am. Well, I'm going to do another reading on this later, which will be the 2020 election. So I put USA in the middle, and then I put the 2020 election here in the second wheel, and then his chart on the outer wheel. And so it's more of like what influence he may have over it. So I'll do that later. But in his natal chart, which I don't have right here, he has Sun conjunct Uranus. And his North Node is up there. His Sun North Node conjunct Uranus, which is why he's such a just shaking everything up kind of guy. He'll say anything, and then of course it's in Gemini, so he'll just say anything to get attention. And the constant, which is not true of all Geminis or many Geminis at all. Most Geminis are very good at mirroring, being in relationship with each other, but he's, that's not how he operates. Anyway, let's get to his solar return. So Uranus in the 10th house is what screams at me here. So it looks to me like a career change. Chiron up in his midheaven, which is, his reputation. The 10th house is also reputation. People are livid about with Aries here. It has to do with Mars, and people are livid with the fact that he's not taking care. He didn't do the right thing when it came to the the COVID-19, this virus crisis that we have going on, and we're looking at record numbers. I think we're now the country with the highest numbers of cases, which is awful. And he's not helping. There's not much support there at all. He left it all to the governors of each state, which on some levels that might turn out to be the best thing for us. I don't really know. I'm not an expert there at all. But here with Chiron on the midheaven, this is like the wounded life force of of the country, of the nation, the wounded. What about us? Don't we matter? The wounded individual that is, I guess in the best case scenario, we honor the sacredness of all people, and he doesn't. He goes towards whatever makes him money. So that's up there, saying to us that wounded place of, why don't we matter? That's up, that's hanging over him, and he can't really do much about it. Now, the only thing he does have control over is, himself. And so here's his core essence. It's in the 12th house. Now, on a spiritual level, I love the 12th house. My moon's in the 12th house, and some of my closest family members and friends that I love dearly, we have a lot of 12th house, planets. So in the spiritual sense, it can be great for getting in touch with your source, who you really are. With him, it's I have to look at the lesser degree, the lower levels of consciousness, even though I don't want to, and that's not how I normally read at all. With him, I have to surrender to that he's just not there. So the 12th house can be about imprisonment. The 12th house rules institutions, imprisonment, unconscious self-undoing, self-undoing because you're coming from an unconscious place. I mean, if he were coming from the higher places, this would be a year where he would be turning inward. Just like the year he was elected, I noticed he had Saturn on his south node, and I thought, oh my gosh, the guy should really be going inward, and it should be a wonderful opportunity to heal any past life issues. But instead, what it did is Saturn cemented him into his position, which, on a spiritual level, maybe it's what we all needed so that the United States can wake up and see all the loopholes in our electoral system, and maybe the gerrymandering can stop, and maybe the whole electoral college can be abolished, and maybe the Citizens United could be abolished, and maybe there are, we'll just add it to the list of, well, let's just say, I hope going forward, when this is all done, we have laws in place so that it can never happen again. But, of course, we have to fight for our freedom. USA has Sagittarius on the ascendant. So, that will be, freedom and truth is something, we have lots of other darkness to heal, but freedom and truth is the important thing. So back to this guy. He will be communicating from a place. He'll be thinking and sensing and communicating from a place where he's spinning in his own internal kind of stew all the time. And maybe hiding even more of what he really wants to say. Like this year, he may be lying even more than he ever has. And to have the nodes in the 12th and 6th, it can be, now not for everyone, of course, depends on what level you're operating with or operating in. It's painful. I'm going to say this is a painful axis for him. Okay, so because he's coming from a level of so many lies, so many lies, and not listening to the information that's out there. And so, I don't know what he's going to be swimming in internally, but I would not want to be in it myself. And because of this inconjunct aspect here to not only Pluto, but also Jupiter and Saturn to his sun, there is so much over here in the realm of relationship that is out of his view, out of his vision, out of his peripheral view. He can't really see all that's coming at him, but I get the sense he might be able to feel it more and more this year. because of course, this will go to his birthday in 2021. So these forces, well, everything I'm telling you now, will be something he will be experiencing for the entire year. So I believe he's going to be fighting in courts of law. The ninth house has to do with courts of law. I'm going to read this. I'm not going to read this spiritually. I'm going to read it on a mundane, just, bare bones kind of, and I don't want to put too much time into it because, frankly, it's not worth it. I'm doing this for us. So what I see is that relationships are going to be, this is the house, can be the house of hidden enemies. These are very powerful hidden enemies, and they're wanting to come in with a big force for the truth, and they want to fight for humanity. This is going to go on for the entire year. So, and Saturn's going to retrograde back in towards. Goodness, are we in retrograde already? Yeah, I think we did. We are. I'm sorry, I'm not kept up with all of that. But that will cement in even further that consciousness of energy of getting into all the collusion, all the people who have colluded. See, now one of the other gifts with him is he has, he ran his campaign on wanting to drain the swamp. Well, it's just such an interesting, ironic, principle of projection where he actually brought in all the swamp creatures, and many of them resigned. What are we up to? Like close to 100 people that have either resigned or gotten fired that he brought in. So there we are. And so the power to Pluto in the 7th has the power to transform your relationships, and especially with Jupiter there can be some healing. But with this guy, what he's got going on, I'm going to say that that his experience will be that people will stand up and fight for the truth against him, and he will come to know his hidden enemies, and it will drive him further back in, that is the direction his soul needs to go in order to grow. We all need to go in, right? But he has focused very much, he has a very outwardly focused way of moving through life. So, which makes it even more important for him to go inwards. But so these laws that are in motion, Jupiter rules the 9th house. So these courts of law that are solid and hanging in there for the truth. All of that's going to be tested within the realm of relationship for him this year. It's going to be tested for us as well. We're going to see like does Kavanaugh get impeached at some point? How about Neil Gorsuch? Is he going to stick around? Right? And maybe RGB is hanging in there, maybe she wants to retire, but maybe not, I don't know. Maybe she's hanging in there to, just to hold that strong, integrity in the Supreme Court. So anyway, that's all another whole subject, but because of courts of law, I thought of that. But anyway, we have a nice sextile here between Pluto. Well, and the descendant, this 7th house cusp here is also very important. So we have that. It's like Pluto squaring his midheaven is not good. That is not good at all for a career. Uranus is definitely career change, and in the most fundamental way, because values have changed. And the power of the people, he's been in delusion for so long, and the moon up here, I'm going to say, is the people, the public, the divine feminine, that's within all of us, whether you're male or female or whatever, however you identify. We all have a divine receptive force within us that wants to be in the state of love rather than wants to be receiving of all rather than excluding. So to read this in the positive sense, we could say that source energy is helping us get that, and there's more courage in that, and with that, he could be experiencing the fight for inclusion, because we want inclusion for all. I mean, this is a very powerful stellium up here. That's amazing. We want unity consciousness to be what is the law of the land, right? We want equality and compassion for what our brothers and sisters have to go through. Whatever we're going through, we want, to be able to help each other. And dang, we can sure see that that's, I mean, on a global level, to see what has happened with the situation with Black Lives Matter and what the amazing soul George Floyd created. It's like, wow. Or decided to go through in order to help us all heal. So that's there. That's hanging over him all for his next birthday all year. He may have more value over his friendships with Venus in the 11th, and I don't really care about that. I think he needs a new group of friends to read him the riot act, or tell him how life, really is. So anyway, I think I'll just leave it there. I see it as, relationships that are either going to go down with him. If they're going to have that forcing current to just hold on to him in his darkness, they're going to go down with him. So he may experience, moving forward in his life, he may someday or in some lifetime feel the guilt that he needs to feel in order to come into touch and try and heal all of that, because he has created so much darkness, and everyone who has colluded with him and maligned the forces of love with him. Of course, if we're just regular human beings, it's easier to say, oh God, I made a mistake, he was way worse than I thought, and I aligned with that for the wrong reason. And then, of course, if we know that we're never going to do it again, we can forgive ourselves, and then, of course, from there we're forgiven, and we can chalk it up as a painful experience. But if you're a person in authority, if you're in a position of power over the people in some way or another, and you have taken an oath, if you have taken an oath to be, a senator, congressman, in any position of power, and you misuse that power, you're going to, at some point in some lifetime, may not be in the first lifetime, but in some lifetime, you're gonna pay for that, and until you can come to terms with all of that, and make amends in any way that you can, and turn things around, and but it's that misuse of power that is at the core of every soul at some point. I mean, we're in every moment, actually. Yeah. Do we align with love, or do we align with apathy, or do we go numb and then allow cruelty to come through us? Which is pretty much what. Oh, let's say Stephen Miller. Let's look at that guy someday. Oh man. Anyway. But this is, part of his cadre. The people like Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon was in there for quite a while, but of course he didn't get along with Jared, so he had to leave. Anyway, Jared had a little more power than we realized. So just the karmic Saturn here can represent the karma of. In Aquarius, the karma of the lack of freedom that he has created in relationship, and his top-down authority type of, wanting to, he wants to be in control of everything in his life, and you can't trust a thing that he says, and it's distraction, distraction, distraction. with his Sun conjunct Uranus and the North Node up there, it's all about, boy, it could have been channeled in such a different way, but he uses it in a distractive way, in a divisive way, so that he can do whatever he wants behind the scenes. It's like, start a fire over here and then you're doing something over there that they won't look at. So we always have to have to imagine that most of the time he's lying, and then look at what he's actually doing. Look for what he and his administration is actually doing, and it's been horrendous. So I believe that in this next year he will be experiencing enemies, outright. They won't be hidden. Well, they might be in the way where they talk behind his back and they can't believe how awful he is. But they're also they're going to be out there. These are open enemies. The 12th house can be hidden enemies. The 7th house is open enemies. So he will be experiencing people openly fighting for justice, openly fighting to remove him, I believe, at some point. Well, I mean, there already is. We already are, fighting to remove him out of office. But he doesn't see it coming. He doesn't see how strongly it is. He is so locked into, he's so deluded in his belief system. The 9th house is the house of beliefs. And he believes, he's connected to Source, and he believes he's moving forward from Source. If this energy here isn't pure, Mars is about movement and going after what you want. And of course he wants to have, domination all over the world travel, he has, Trump International is worldwide. He has many countries he can escape to, and that might be what this turns into later on in the year, where he experiences his defeat, and then it's like, okay, where do I want to go? That may very well be how this manifests. But yeah, okay. And that, I don't, to get into his solar arc, I see it as Mars on the ascendant. He's going to be fighting. He's definitely going to be fighting for what he wants. He's going to be, he's definitely going to be in there fighting for what he wants. And then, but on the public, to look at the public here, it's about homeland and security. And that's not what he cares about. But again, look up here. Uranus is in the 10th house. His sun has progressed to Virgo at this point, so he should be more inward. Because of all of the drugs he's used over the years, and because of the darkness that he has allowed himself to surrender to, he literally is moved by the dark forces. I have no doubt about that. I am going to read this as anxiety over his position in the world, and paranoia. Yeah. So I don't really care to look at any more about that. This is January. November after the election, so his lunar return, so the day that the moon returns to his 21 degrees, which is what he was born under, is 21 degrees Sag. So that's in his 5th house. So what he wants is, of course, is public recognition. And he will be, forcefully putting himself out there. But again, not caring so much about how he feels and what he wants. Check this out, man. He's got Saturn in the 7th. There's limitation around relationship. Pluto and Jupiter in the 6th is not going to be good for his health or his service, right? His job. Big changes in job. Big changes in job here. And then, Mars up in the 10th, like, I want to be in control. I still want to be in control, but nah, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. And then it's like, okay, where do I go? Now what do I do? Where do I go? I got to do something else in the 10th, you know. Movement in the 10th house, shocks and upset and you know, reversal of fortune. If we put Uranus in Taurus together, it can be reversal of financial fortunes. Yeah. So but this is just for the month of November. So yeah, I think that he's going to experience a job change, and then January, you know, January 10th, his next lunar return. Still that moon in the 5th, which I don't care what he wants, and I'm not going to look at that. Health problems still. Sun conjunct Pluto in the 6th. That's that can be really good if you're really healthy and you're powerfully, you know, working on you know, reorganizing your life in a completely new way. That might be what he's thinking about. He might be having health problems, and then, okay, now what do I know? But for sure, big changes in his day-to-day life, day-to-day activity. Same thing for November. Big changes in day-to-day. 6th house is health, service, work, day-to-day organizing your reality. Right? What's on your calendar, or what do you want on your calendar? What are you moving towards? Big changes there. Big changes here. And is, you know, the sun right there, out. You're out. You're out. January 10th, you're out. Or January 20th, you know, he'll be out. Whether he's going to stay and fight and hold on to try and stay, probably. I'll have to do some other readings and just ask. I have so many other questions. Like, you know, what is he working on to try and stay in power? Like, would he actually try to start a civil war? And or could that, you know, could that actually happen with yeah, I have so many questions. But when it comes to his astrology, I'm going to say that he will not be in office. Or he will be being removed from office if he tries to stay. Well, that's the thing with astrology. You can't really. Yeah, it's hard to get the yes and no's. You just see the energy and the consciousness, and then you have to decide how you want to use it. But I think he's going to want to. I think he's just going to want to get out of Dodge. Maybe he's going to really want to get out of the position because he's just so tired. You know, with his solar return, with, you know, all of this, and, you know, his essence, his literal, you know, essence being in the 12th house, it's not going to be a high energy year for him. And it may be that, you know, everything's just weighing down on him so heavily that it's wearing down on him, and he doesn't have this strong relationships to keep him. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot with this program, with this astrology program. Yes, these. So all the planets that are in red are actually in retrograde right now. So yes, Saturn is retrograde. So to have Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto retrograde in your solar return, and anything in retrograde, you're revisiting. You're having opportunity to renew. So Venus retrograde, yeah, right. Renew your goals and your wishes. Review, because things are going to be changing. And then over here, it's about reviewing what solid relationships he actually has, and I think he is going to be very disappointed. Yeah. All right. That's all I've got. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Please subscribe, share, like, comment. I love it all. Okay, bye-bye.